Good morning, folks. We're out at Dad's. I'm getting ready. I'm going to work on a lantern out here today, if you can believe that. But I wanted to show you this. My old 2000 Malibu that I beat back and forth to work from my work car. The battery died on it on a cold day a couple weeks ago. I jump started and it's got me through since then. But I got a new battery to put in. It's going to be back down below zero for the next week. It's going to be cold lows here. But I wanted to show you this. See if the camera will focus down in there on the end of the battery. 2 of 16. February of 16 is when that die-hard battery in there came from. It's February 2025 now, so that poor old battery's lasted 9 years, so I cannot complain about having to replace that battery now. Next week, I think next week's video we're going to get the gas tank put back in 27 Dodge Brothers and get that electric fuel pump hooked up. So I think that's going to be next week's video. But yeah, I just wanted to show that before we got into the lantern that we're here to work on today. Okay, well, like I said, we got a lantern to work on out here today. It's another one that I got a whole row of lanterns over here. One of the times my brother-in-law went to an antique store, he brought home several of them for me, and I've been slowly working through the group of them. But today I'm going to work on this one. This is, I can't remember the date of it. Look again. This is an A of 1950, so first half of the year 1950. Before 1950, from I think 1951 is when they switched maybe to having the dual date codes again. I don't know, I'll have to look it up. I can't remember exactly when they switched, but before, in the 1950s, clear back until in the 30s, I think, they had, gosh dang, I'm gonna have to look at the date codes again. I don't remember for sure, but there was a long time that they had A or B. Yeah. So A was first half of the year, B was second half of the year, and then they'd have the year, instead of like the more modern ones have the month and year on the bottom of them. Anyhow, this is a 220D model. The vent, or the collar looks just like a 220E model. Let's get the camera in a little closer here. The collar looks just like a 220E model, but it is a 220D. And this old lantern looks to be in pretty good shape, but I've not done much with it yet. Just checked it out, and it's been sitting here waiting for the day that I could work on it, because I like to check everything out while we got it on camera here. Pretty decent, pretty solid looking old lantern though. It's got a nice reflector on it, and that reflector is, I've got another reflector here that was on a lantern that I bought for parts that I thought was just about the same. But once I got looking at it, this definitely is a much better reflector. This one has, let's get the camera around here, I don't know.
I don't think either one of them say Coleman on them, do they?
I doubt it. They're probably another company making them. This one, if you can see down inside of here, it's actually got like a peg that comes off of the bottom of it and actually sticks right through the holes in the bottom of the burner on here. That's not the burner, on the bottom of the base plate, but plugs right in some holes in there, and then the top of it comes up and goes behind the nut on the top of it. But it is strong, heavy duty, really strong, good reflector. And this other one that I had that I thought was the same thing until I got looking at it is just a much cheaper. The handle's smaller, it's thinner metal. The metal going up to the top is a much thinner piece. Just has like a worm gear, no, it's not a worm gear style clamp, but just a piece of thin metal that has a bolt that goes through it that clamps around there instead of actually fitting right into the holes that are already made in the lantern. So much more of just a cheap, generic, one-size-fits-all kind of reflector.
The ones we had for our 200s didn't even have a bottom brace or a handle on them. They were just a reflector.
Yeah. I've got ones like that.
Yeah.
I've got 2 of them at home too, but they're also much cheaper than this.
Oh,
like
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
they're flimsy.
pretty heavy duty. But like I said, I've done pretty much nothing with this lantern. So let's check it all out here. First of all, I'm going to pull the nut off the top and see how this reflector comes off of there. I believe once the nut's off there, you just be able to lift the top off and the bottom, those pegs will fall right out of the holes. But I'm not positive of that. Yep. There we go. Now you can definitely see that bottom just has 2 little... get the camera around this way. Leo is...
Playing with his lantern.
Yeah, he's awfully hard on his lantern. He works way rougher on his lanterns than I do. There we go. You can see those 2 round pegs, and this is specifically made to fit this lantern. So I don't know, maybe this was made by Coleman, but I doubt it. It doesn't say Coleman anywhere. Probably another company, but they were specifically made to fit this lantern. They did a really good job, and it just goes through a couple of the holes in the bottom of that collar there. Fits right in, clips in place, fits securely. All right, let's keep tearing this apart. Pull the vent off of there. It's got a red letter Pyrex Coleman glass. That is not correct for 1950. This should have had, I don't know if the 1950 would have been a green sunrise or a green straight letter. I think it would have been a sunrise in 1950, but definitely not the correct globe for it, but it is a correct globe. It says Pyrex made in USA for Coleman. It's got 2 of these sparker igniters on it. Let's see if one of them, I think, get it around here where you can still see it, but where I can, yeah, that one works. This one doesn't even feel like it has a flint in it.
Yeah.
So probably would have to have the flint replaced, but I will just take it off there anyway. I'm not super partial to those, but I do have another one that's got that on it, and I've used it and it works okay. Furnace is kicking on. Not much we can do about that. It's below 0 outside. Good old Iowa wintertime finally made it here with a vengeance.
And it snowed.
Yeah, we got, well, the video that came out last week is actually still ongoing right now. The lanterns from that video are still burning at home right now, but it was cold. And we got about probably 5 or 6 inches of snow. So the knob turns, tip cleaner lever, seems like it turns easy enough. That is pretty loose for some reason. Pull the fuel cap off, it broke loose easily. Ooh, that doesn't look fantastic around the top of that. Little black and nasty looking. Down inside looks clean though.
Well, that's all that counts.
I was a little concerned when I looked around the top of that, but let's see. It smells like old Coleman fuel. It doesn't smell like rotten gasoline, that's for sure. So that might be okay. I just now noticed there is a dent in the top of the fount there. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to polish it up. I'm just going to get it going. Someday when I'm gone and if none of my kids are into this, there's going to be some collectors that are able to find a bunch that still need restored, which is going to be hard to find by that point. Let's set this over here out of the way. Mantles are...
Was that out a sticker right there? I see something.
No, that's where the bale's been
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
flopping down there and hitting, got bale rash on the front of it. the mantles are already broken, so I don't have to worry about, when I find ones with old mantles on them that aren't broken, I often see if I can get it going without breaking those mantles, but don't have to worry about that on this one. They're already both got holes in them, so we can peel those off of there.
Are those radioactive?
Nope, they don't look like it. They,
Okay.
I mean, they could be, but they definitely could be old enough to be soak lights, but they're not the old loose weave soak lights. But either way, I'll throw them in the garbage so the dog doesn't eat them, since I don't know how old they actually are. So you got mud dauber nests in your garbage over there.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, that came from a lantern video a couple weeks ago too. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that's as loose as it is. That's a little concerning. Let's see here. Pump feels like it does nothing. So let's grab a screwdriver here. Pop that pump out of there and see what it looks like. If it pumps up and passes air, I'm not going to tear this one clear down. Huh. Well, that slot in that screw is too big or too small for that screwdriver. I'll get one of the old thin blade pocket screwdrivers out. Goodness, that was pretty snug. Oh my gosh. Let's see, those haven't been out of there in a day or two, that's for sure. Holy cow. Goodness. Get that pop loose. Yeah, this video was supposed to be this week's video, but I was going to record on Monday, and Sunday night I got called into work. So this one got delayed by a week. Yeah, so this video was supposed to be last week's video, not this week's video. Yeah. Come on out of there. Yeah, the leather looks okay. A little flake, like some of the nickel plating off of here looks like stuck to the side of it. It's not hard as a rock. Every once in a while you'll get one that's super hard. I'm gonna go put this in the Marvel Mist Oil and let it soak for a few minutes. Grab my little pocket flashlight, take a look down in there. The inside of the tube looks nice and clean. The little stem that threads down in there is loose. It threads in and out just fine. So maybe we'll be fine with that. Just have to spread that leather out a little bit. I'm gonna get this second striker pulled out of there. To be honest, I think it just, you thread that jam nut off the outside and then it goes in to the inside and pulls out of there. Some of them slide in and out like this, and some don't. And this one, the other one that's in there that works, does not slide in and out. But that's okay, it's in working order. I'm just gonna leave it there. Break that loose. That fit off? No, of course it doesn't. It won't fit off over the little handle, so you gotta get the set screw out of that handle. I'm sure that tiny little set screw ought to be easy to get loose. Oh yeah, that is not gonna come loose easily. There's a tiny, tiny little set screw in that stem. It's got to come out. And it will not turn. All right. This will take it off of there.
That was the right size.
Yep. Yeah, that one always works. That's a handy little cutoff wheel. We've had that around the shop here for, oh geez, probably 20, 30 years now.
Yep.
Done a lot of cutting. Dad's starting to clean up the vent and the glass probably too. Get this out of here. There we go. Alright, this thing is just, it looks like it's sat somewhere for a long time. It's just crusty and dusty. I'm going to grab that brass bristled brush that I've used on a couple other videos and give all the top parts of this a quick brushing down to get the loose stuff knocked off of them. Alright, I'm going to move these two tiny little screws and this ball nut up to the top of my toolbox where I can't knock them down and lose them. Alright, let's just give this a quick brushing down. Kind of get some of the loose crud knocked off of it. I'm not going to pull it all clear apart unless it needs it. If it passes air and everything seems like it's going to work all right, then we'll just put it back together. If I can't get it to pump up and pass air, then we might have to pull it apart. Get this bigger brush in here. Just knock off the loose stuff. I am going to have to now get the blowgun and blow this down again, but there might be enough air left just in the lines without going back and turning the air compressor back on again. Do that. I don't doubt that the nickel on this would probably clean up pretty good. It doesn't, it looks awfully thin there. It looks like, that kind of looks like some brass showing through. But boy, that front side doesn't look too bad, but I'm not really a polishing up guy, so I'm just gonna hit it with a little glass cleaner now, wipe it down. call it good enough for now. Maybe one of these days I'll decide I want to clean it up more and make a video polishing it up. But for right now, we're just going to clean it up and get it going. I've got about 100 projects that I want to record already lined up, it seems like, so don't need a extra project just shining one up right now. Also, I kind of like to just do a video and see if it will just come back to life without doing any major work on it. All right, let's see here. Let's put the air pump back in there and let's pump a little bit of pressure in this thing and see if it passes air. Yeah, I had it balanced going in there. Okay, let's try to spread this leather back out a little bit. It's actually pretty pliable, not bad at all. Here comes the furnace again. Like I said, that cold car being parked in here is just sucking the heat right out of here. Then about the time I get done with this, change my battery and everything, I'll have to pull the car out. Dad will pull his truck back in and it'll be freezing cold from sitting outside. Get on in there. There we go. Huh. That does not have the little oil hole. I always put it with the oil hole on the top side, but that doesn't even have a little oil hole in it, so it doesn't matter which way it goes. If you like it. Yep, feels like it's doing something now. Get these two tiny little screws put back in there. I'm not going to torque them down like they were. They were awfully tight. There we go. Snug the cap up here. Make sure I got the valve shut again, and let's see if it builds any pressure. Well, I don't hear air leaking out around the pump, so maybe the check valve's doing its job. I'm sure you guys won't be able to hear if it's passing air with the furnace running, but I'll be able to hear if it's doing anything. Yep, it's passing air. Sounds like it quit. Well, it's not. Yep, it's definitely hissing. Quit. Hissing again, so I think my fuel cap is leaking too. see it blowing bubbles though, that's odd. But I can hear it. That's odd. No, I don't know. I'm not positive that that's where it's coming from, but it sure sounds like it is. That cap gasket doesn't look wonderful. I think I'll just replace that quickly. I could hear air leaking out. I sprayed some glass cleaner around it and didn't see bubbles, but I could definitely hear it. So I just thread the cap down on there tight, take the little screw out of the center of the cap. Oh goodness, apparently threaded it nice and tight. There we go. And then you pull the cap back off, and the two parts of the cap will come apart from one another then. You got the outside that actually threads on there, and you've got the inside part that has the gasket in it. Okay, just got an old broken off screw that was laying here. Put it in the vise, flip that little cap right upside down on top of it there so that it's balanced in there. Take a torch and just heat that up until it's almost glowing red. Heat it up, heat it up, heat it up until it's just about glowing orange. Grab a pair of pliers, drop it in a little cup of water, let it quench it to where it's cold. There we go. Now, what's left of that gasket in there will just chip right out of there. Make sure you get all the old pieces picked out of there. I don't know if I've ever showed cap gasket replacement. I feel like maybe I have on one before, but I'm not positive of that. Once I get the big chunks cleared out, then I just take my knife, just keep running it around the edge in there. Make sure all the chunks are scraped loose and out of there, so there's not a piece underneath it to make it not seal well. There's no carb cleaner here.
On the bench over there. Bench.
I'll be right back. I'll go spray this out with some carb cleaner. Make sure I don't brush my screw that goes down the middle of that off of here on the floor and lose it. Howdy-do, let's see. I think that these are the correct cap gaskets. I got a few different little baggies of cap gaskets in there. Yeah, just a little rubber gasket, fits right back in there. Push it all the way down in. I like to just take it and push it back down on the top of there and turn it a little bit, and that seats it all right back down in there. Put your centerpiece back in the outside part of the cap. And these screws that go in there don't have to be torqued down. I just put my thumb against the inside, hold it like that, snug it down as tight as I can hold it with the pressure of my thumb, and that's all the tighter I put those on there. Well, every once in a while you go to take one apart and somebody has torqued it down, or it's just been on there for 100 years and rusted in place. And you can have a heck of a time getting them apart sometime, but 99% of the time you can just tighten that cap down, good and snug on there, get a screwdriver, pop it right loose. Now let's try pumping it up again, see if I still hear air leaking around that cap gasket. You gotta pump it a lot when there's no fuel in there. There's a lot of room for the air to expand in there. Now let's see. Yeah, I don't hear it anymore, and I could definitely hear it leaking before. Now that the furnace isn't running, maybe the camera will pick up and be able to hear air passing when I open this valve. Tip cleaner shuts it off. The tip cleaner rod's bent a little. That's not uncommon though. They're not super strong. I actually can just about look and see it's okay. There, it's in up position, so I'm going to go half a turn so it's down, and then just flex it back up a little bit. There we go. That's close enough. Not rocket science. It's just got to be good enough to function. Alright, pocket knife back away. Now that I know it's passing air, I'm going to tighten up this jam nut down underneath here a little bit and see if I can get that wobble out of there. I believe that that is 9/16. Yeah. The newer ones are larger. These ones are 9/16, and this is what I've got this wrench that we put a custom bend in. Try to do it so that it's pointing towards the camera. This wrench will fit right down in there now. Okay. Let's just move the camera so the camera's looking from the same direction I am. That would be way more helpful than me trying to reach around there all weird like that. Now if I can keep my fingers out of the way and the camera can still pick it up. It's still not super handy because these are always right in the way, but it does make it better. You can get in there. Usually get like one flat on the nut at a time, and then got to turn it a little bit to line up with another spot. With a bent wrench like this, you can get in there and you can get that snug down. And it doesn't have to be torqued down tight. It's got to be tight enough. I just want that to not wiggle so easily. There we go. Now that doesn't move around so easy. We've got a whole slew of customized wrenches that we've made for different size lanterns, and that's why when I come out here I just grab my lantern toolbox and bring out here, because we got all kinds of tools that we've customized so that they'll fit in a specific spot for doing a specific job on a lantern. Alright, well, I think I can fuel this up. We'll fuel it, pump it up, tie some mantles on, and see if this 1950 220D will come back to life for us. If I get a shot of this one burning at home tonight in the dark, it's going to be cold. It's going to be well below zero tonight, so this one will get to run in some cold weather at home this evening. Other than being a little more cold-blooded to start, though, they do good in the cold weather. These were used all around the world. A lot of them were manufactured in Canada. There's Canadian models, and they were used in places that were very, very cold. Much colder than it's going to be 5 below zero here in eastern Iowa tonight. Put a little splash of sea foam in with it. I always like to put a little bit in there. I had a person ask me in my comment on one of my recent videos how much I put in, and I told him I don't ever measure. I just, like I did right there, just put a couple glugs in, but that's probably a tablespoon or so. If it smells like old rotten pump fuel, I might put 2 or 3 times that much in there just to help clean it out. If it smells pretty good, I just put a little splash in there, but in my opinion, it doesn't hurt to help get all the internal parts cleaned up and working well again. It certainly doesn't hurt anything, and 1 can of it lasts a long time, so I'm not out much money by doing it. Alright, I got 2 more mantles here that are the ones that my brother-in-law gave me with that lantern that I got from him for Christmas. So since this is another one of the lanterns that he picked up at an antique store for me, I'll use these 2 mantles on here. Alright, mantles are tied on. Let's clip these strings off so we don't look like amateurs. One of Dad's lanterns here that we've been using for a while. Actually, it might be, yeah, it's this one right behind me.
Yeah.
Still has the strings on it because it's still using the same mantles that were on it when we got it.
And the strings are hanging out there.
Yep. All right, I'll throw those on the floor. Dad can sweep them up next time he sweeps.
It might be a while.
Okay, this thing's kind of, the striker's kind of right in the way, but that mantle will shrink up. I just want to kind of push it away from there and make sure it doesn't get hooked on anything when it's shrinking up. And
I never seen one that didn't slide back down.
yeah, the other one, I got a piece of it here. See, it's got that groove down through there.
Yeah.
So that it can slide but still can't spin in a circle.
Yeah.
So the ones that have a groove going down the side of the striker will slide out. I've got another old lantern at home that I never used because the striker doesn't work on it, but it's got one like this that doesn't have that groove, so the striker is just in a fixed position up inside of there. But there was several different companies that made these aftermarket parts like that reflector that's on here for these old Coleman lanterns, and the ones that slide up and down were usually that Coleman's brand or Coughlin, I think it was Coughlan's, and their logo, I think on purpose, was pretty similar to a Coleman logo. Looked pretty similar to it. Alright, I don't think I pumped this up yet. I fueled it, but I didn't pump it. So let's pump it up before we burn those in. Okay, I was talking when I started pumping, so I lost count, but it doesn't make much difference anyway. You can feel the resistance and know when it's about time to stop, but I think I usually end up going about 50 pumps when I'm getting ready to start it up. I think the instructions usually say 20 to 30, but...
That's 50.
No, 20 to 30, not 20 plus 30. Get these new mantles burned in here. There we go. Let those burn in for just a minute here. I'll gather up all my parts and pieces and get them back over here close enough to reach them to reassemble this thing. I put the ball nut up here so I wouldn't lose it. All right, well, let's see what it does here. I'm gonna do it with that. Hard to light a lantern with a screwdriver. I've always said that. All right, let's crack that open a quarter turn. Wow, that was enthusiastic. It was ready to go. I should have tried lighting it with the striker. Why didn't I do that?
Well, I hate to wear it out.
Yeah. Now let's give the tip cleaner a quick turn. It's burning good, but it seems like the mantles didn't puff out quite as much as I expected them to, but put a few more pumps of pressure in it here now. They might still come around a little bit. It's bright, I can't hardly look at the darn thing.
Yep, good and bright.
Good and bright. I should have straightened up that cage a little bit. Man,
Okay.
now that I'm looking at it, dang, I should have flexed that around a little bit, but too late to do it right now. Dad cleaned up the glass. Throw that back in there. That way a little bit. Put the lettering over top of the tip cleaner. Not that it makes any difference at all. This poor old vent, I didn't show that, but it's got some chips and beat up a little bit, but it's still sturdy. Lots of times these older vents will get pretty rusty around there.
That one's good and solid.
That transitional lantern that I did, oh, I don't know, a month and a half ago now, that vent on that was pretty roached, but I reused it anyway. All right, let's see if I can get this back in here. Pegs just line up with the holes that are already there. There we go. And then it slides right in around the, whoops. There we go. Now, there we go, now we got it. Pegs line up the bottom, it slides in at the top, and it's kind of spring loaded. It fits in there snug. And then tighten that jam nut down, and look at how they've got the top of this here. When you tighten the jam nut down, it goes right into that little slot there. So everything's locked in place. No chance that it can come out. Pretty well built setup here. So there we go. Another one brought back to life. Oh, I never thought about that, but yeah, you can't put the handle down in the back position when it's got this reflector on there, but it's still fold right down the front. Handle works well. I like it. We'll get a shot of this at home in the dark and cold tonight. All right, folks, we're back at home. I'm going to take this, I had this out in the garage since I was out of Dad's this morning. We're going to take it outside and light it back up and let it burn for a while this evening so we can get a shot of it in the dark. Okay, here we go. Whoops. We just walked into last week's video. I haven't recorded the end of last week's video yet because I started last week's video, these two lanterns, yesterday when I got home from work. And we just got home from Willis's appointment that I talked about earlier in last week's video. And here we are now. So we'll go ahead and finish up last week's video, and then I'll come back and finish up this week's video. Alright, I finished up last week's video. Let's see if this thing will light, and I'm going to try to light it with the striker that's on it. I burned it for a while out at Dad's this morning while I was changing the battery in my car. So all we're going to do now is just pump it up and try to light it again. If it lights up good, then we'll come back out and get one more shot of it after it's good and dark tonight. So, I guess I can move the camera over this way a little bit. We're just gonna try this striker. So I'm gonna crack the valve open. Listen till I hear it gurgle a little bit. There we go. What do you know? And it's cold out here. That's been sitting in the garage since I brought it home from Dad's, but the garage is not heated. And it is 9 degrees out here right now. So it's certainly not warm. That lit up pretty good for sitting out here in the cold. All right, let's open that valve up the rest of the way. Give the tip cleaner a quick turn here. Give her a few more pumps. All right, we'll come out and check on it again after it gets dark. Okay, the old 220D with the reflector is sitting out here burning nice. Needs pumped up. It's about 8:30. I don't have my phone on me. I don't know what the temperature's down to now, but it's cold. I'm gonna go close up the chickens. I know you guys are probably getting tired of watching me put the chickens away, but I want to see how this reflector projects the light out in front of me. It actually seems like it's working pretty good. I'll take a screenshot of my phone when I get in there and show what the temperature is now. I'll bet it's probably getting darn close to 0 if it's not already down to 0 out here. It is chilly. You see the chickens with this lantern burning. Last week with the kerosene, it didn't project enough light back in there to see them really well. That was last week's video, but that was actually just last night here at home. Okay. Got too much stuff and not enough hands here. There we go. Yeah, that reflector does project the light out ahead of you pretty darn good. Probably gonna go ahead and shut this thing down and put it away so I can be done coming out in the cold for the night. We'll get up here and shut it off, and I'll get it put away in the garage and out of the weather for the night. Thanks for watching, folks. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already done so. Leave a comment, share the video. If you want to help support our channel, I say it every week, the best way you can help support us is just to let the ads play when they come up. There she goes. She's starting to burn down now. Thanks again for watching, folks. We appreciate each and every view. Come on back next week. We'll have a video of something here for you to watch.